Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Local Business Hackers, I'm your host, Director of Global Business Dev at Referrizer, joined today by a very, very awesome guest who I happen to be a huge fan of, Kelli Schroeder, VP of Franchise Dev at WellBiz Brands. Kelli, welcome to Local Business Hacks.
Thanks so much for having me, Carl. Excited to chat today.
Thank you. And Kelli, I know that you have quite the amazing background outside of graduating from my alma mater, Alabama. Talk to us about this vast career from restaurants to advertising to now being at WellBiz Brands.
Well, at first I have to say roll tide. And, we couldn't clinch the national championship this year, but we got to let other people win every now and then. So that's my shout out there. But I've been really fortunate to have a lot of mentors and folks to take a chance on me. I never thought I would actually be working in the franchising space. A lot of people say they kind of stumbled into the industry, and that was definitely the case for me. And I'm so grateful for it. I originally thought growing up, I was going to be the next Katie Couric. I majored in broadcast television and interned at local news stations. And I started seeing their work-life balance and it like not existing and working every holiday and the pay. So I went into the dean's office and I said, I need to change my major. I'm going to change it to public relations instead. So after college, kind of my first big girl job out of university was working at a big publicly traded agency owned by the Omnicom Group, which is a Zimmerman agency. And I got to cut my teeth there for a couple years working on hospitality clients like Hard Rock Hotels, the country of Aruba, their tourism policy, a bunch of resorts in Mexico, Club Med, and that really putting in 80 hours a week, doing the grunt work, laid a great foundation for me. And I had a good friend in Texas that gave me a call one day, and she was working for Brinker International at the time for Chili's. And she said, hey, I know this is very kind of out of left field, but given your PR and sales background, would you be interested in coming to work for Chili's Grill and Bar and helping sell the business on the global side? So I flew out, got on a plane, flew out and interviewed on my birthday. And my first boss in franchising, Chris Brimmer, now he oversees development for Smoothie King, great guy. He took a chance on me. I was up against folks that were paralegals, had experience in legal and franchising. And he said, I think it's good to have a fresh perspective and have you come and jump in. So that was in 2013, and had the privilege to grow the business from about 27 countries to 40 in 4 years, growing the Chili's brand. So, far-flung places like Mongolia and the Gobi Desert in a yurt doing business, riding camels, to holding like an 80-pound eagle that their wingspan was, taller than both of us combined, to, having to sing karaoke totally sober in the middle of the day in Thailand with a bunch of Thai folks. And you got to have your one go-to karaoke song. So, it was kind of a jump in the deep end getting into franchising, but it's something that's been full of adventure and where I've really never looked back. I love the space.
Congratulations on being in an environment where people are willing and able to take chances, both yourself and past employers. I, for one, am very grateful for those opportunities on my end as well. And for those of you that haven't been able to see Kelli in action, the woman is a badass savage in this space who brings a wealth of knowledge and genuinely cares about the end users, which is really, really beautiful. So with that being said, talk to us about your current role as VP of Franchise Dev and about WellBiz Brands. How can people get involved?
Yeah, so currently I am Vice President of Franchise Development at WellBiz Brands. We are a portfolio wellness and beauty company. We've got 5 brands in our portfolio. So Fitness Together, which is personal training, Amazing Lash Studio, which is lashes, radiant waxing, Dry Bar, which is probably the most famous brand that we have, blowouts for women, And Elements Massage, so holistic massage therapy. We've got close to, let's see, nearly 900 locations across the US and over 500 franchisees in our portfolio. We're growing at about 25% year over year. So, with our size and footprint, a lot of the misnomer is that, okay, you've been around for 15, 20 years, your brands, there's no more territories left. And that's really not the case. I mean, we are growing tremendously, like I said, 25% year over year. And so I always love to open up that conversation with potential candidates that I'm talking to that are looking at a beauty or wellness franchise, people that are not even in this space, to kind of share more about how the sector is booming. Like we're seeing it grow about 7% CAGR over the next 3 years, and it's a $5 billion market space. So it's a fun time to be a part of the brand. I don't do it alone. I have a tremendous team. We've got 7 folks within the franchise development sales team, and which includes resales. So we do a lot of secondary market asset sales. When a system is as big as 900 or 1,000 locations, about 10 to 12% are always either going to be for resale. So whether they want to sell for a multiple because they're healthy, but they're just looking to exit the system, they could be breaking even, or they could be distressed assets that will be purchased at pretty much at zero cost that are more turnaround projects. So resales rolls up to my department, and then I've got 3 sales directors that sell all 5 brands across all 50 states and Canada. And then we've got our franchise development marketing manager who spearheads all of our directing, how we work with our broker networks and how we spend our marketing dollars in across the franchises. And then we've got our lead qualifier as well. So she is the face of all of our brands and touches a lead 3 times before handing it over to my sales team. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of what our team looks like and what we have going on at WellBiz.
It's amazing. We over here at Referrizer have gotten our feet wet and have worked with a couple Elements Massage, and definitely proud to say that they're in the top 5 of the system in Google reviews.
Yes.
So it's a testament to the brand as well, because we can partner with an amazing brand, but the franchisee is not delivering as expected, and then our system doesn't really thrive. So it's amazing to see that, and congrats on you guys growing at you are. And if our listeners really picked up on it, Kelli said 500 franchisees with over 900 locations. That means WellBiz is definitely doing something right, because people are purchasing and operating more than one location. So we love seeing partners that can do that and push that versus having 900 locations and 900 franchisees. That's a very different realm of a group. So congrats to you and your team for obviously getting the right people have the right fit and continuing to grow at the rate that you guys are. Like,
yeah, thank you. And I think you bring up a good point. I truly believe the spirit and intent of the franchise model is all about economies of scale. And with some business models, they may have a big ticket, whether it's a Topgolf or that, where you may just do one location and the unit economics can hurdle that, right? And it can be a very healthy business, or like the Chick-fil-A model, right? One owner, operator. But a lot of franchises, really where the sweet spot is when you have 2 or more locations, because you're able to leverage the human capital of your staff, the cross training of that. And then if you've got lookalike brands like we do in our portfolio that are going after the affluent female customer, it's a 1-to-1 service model and it's a membership-based model. There's a ton of efficiencies that you can glean on your infrastructure and continue to build your enterprise through multi-unit franchise development.
100%. And I think that another great part about that is the impact. I mean, if you look at when you have brands that are closing, 30% year over year, and then it's a catch-up game that you guys clearly aren't doing as you're in this rapid growth phase. So keep it up, Kelli and Kelli's team. It's awesome to witness.
Thank you.
Kelli, I'd love to transition a little bit on your 10 plus years in this space. We'll not show your age here. If you guys are just listening and not watching on YouTube, Kelli is radiant this morning. talk to us about, the stories that shaped your toolkit, your local business hacks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to take us to Africa. After I punched in my time card and Brinker, I left and I joined a startup called Jibu. They were a social franchise where they were selling safe drinking water, and it was accessible to the middle and the bottom of the pyramid. So the majority of folks in Africa, communities in Africa, access to water, as you all know, is a global problem. But unfortunately, packaged water is really only affordable for the rich. So the top 10%, or in some countries, the top 5% can afford it. And so what these two co-founders did, Galen and Randy Welsh, look them up, Jibu, JIBU.com when you can. They started this company from the ground up, piloting this franchise concept in East Africa. And I actually met them when I was at Georgetown, a university, getting my CFE. And we kept in touch over the years. And there was an opportunity for me to come on board and help to build out their master franchising model and grow the brand. So I packed all my stuff up, put it in storage, moved to Uganda, lived in Kampala, got a local roommate with a local apartment. You guys, I wore a dress and heels, side saddle, through the mud on a motorcycle to work every day. And it was just such a wild ride. And I loved really connecting the franchise model and seeing how it can change people's lives, and the fact that the impact you're making in social franchising is far greater than the profits that you're going to make. However, you're not limited to profit making. So you can create commerce and capitalism, and that is okay. And that is what, feeds mouths, puts food on the table, creates job, and really builds a legacy. So I had the privilege for a couple of years to sit back and see thousands of businesses being developed at the micro level down to the multi-unit development level, and with the end result of being able to give people access to basic needs, which should be a basic right, which is clean drinking water. And from that experience, I really was transformed, and wanting to make sure that any type of franchise brand that I worked with, making sure that the end customer is impacted in such a major way. I mean, even now, not as philanthropic, but like at WellBiz, what we do, in beauty and wellness, our goal is to make women feel confident and radiant and a better version of themselves. Like whether it is they go get a blowout, or they had a long day and they want to go get a massage, or they get their lashes done, they leave our locations feeling uplifted, edified, and ready to tackle life. And I just think that's so important, whether you're impacting a basic need or you're making that difference. And I've really carried that with me in my career.
Congrats on living a life full of fulfillment. It's amazing how much of us are, I call it the walking dead, where we're doing our robotic jobs or just doing what we're told, and we think that we're living this fulfilled life of making our parents happy or doing what we were trained to do. But very few of us get on an airplane and move to Uganda to make an impact. And Kelli, it doesn't surprise me to hear this story at all. But I think that it ultimately does shed a light on living a fulfilled life. And I can imagine being in the franchise dev space, especially at WellBiz, that you hear some of the most amazing stories where you've turned franchisees' lives completely around. If you're up for it, I'd love to hear one of those, if any come to mind.
Yes, absolutely. It's one I know that you've heard before, but it's worth repeating. So what we do at WellBiz, which I adore, and I think it's such a smart marketing tool, and it's just great all around, is that we champion E2 visas and folks that are looking to move to the United States for a better life, whether that is to create a better quality of life for their family, if they're escaping from war or political unrest in their other countries. Franchising is a tremendous way to be able to make that move with the legal rigmarole and the paperwork to be able to come to this country and be able to do so through franchise ownership. And so we had a couple of those at Elements Massage, and we had someone come over from, I believe, Eastern Europe and planted his roots and took on Elements and was able to relocate and move his family to the United States. And they've spent a few years building up the business. And now this individual has scaled to multiple locations and has really created a livelihood and established generational wealth for his family and helped them to escape a situation where they were challenged and they were in search for a better future. And I think franchisors that are able to offer that type of support to immigrants that are looking to come to honestly pursue the American dream, it sounds cheesy, but it's very true. And I've seen it firsthand. I saw it in Africa when I was going door to door with the water sales and the program that we offer. And so I just think that the franchise model has the power to harness a superpower in all of us. And I think we need to be open-minded as developers, franchise developers, those that are in sales, looking at potential candidates. Don't overlook folks that are not from here. Don't overlook their ability to be successful. Give them a chance, just like my first boss and mentor gave a chance on me when I didn't even come from the space. And now here I am 13 plus years later.
Incredible. I think that this is a very unique thing that WellBiz does, at least in the franchising space. I've had 170 organizations on this show, and no one has ever spoken about that opportunity with the E2. So I really love that you guys do that, and that it's something that you're continually voicing because it is unique in the space and it's clearly providing incredible opportunities for people. I want to say a funny thing that came to mind. I went to adult summer camp last year in Sweden, where I got to literally imagine everything that you can imagine is real. We were tubing and arts and crafts and cooking, and it was
amazing.
Really, yeah, it was amazing. However, as one of 4 Americans, I was in a total culture shock. I had friends that were from Eastern Europe but never lived with them for 3 weeks at a campsite. So once I got over the fact that everyone in Europe showers naked together, we realized that entrepreneurship is truly unique as a scale to Americans. And I say that because when people were asking, hey, Carl, what do you do for a living? And if you go and you start a business, it's a very unique thing in that world. So I definitely agree with you when you said living the American dream for yourself. It's a really great opportunity that franchising opens up for people. So American dream, baby.
Yeah. I'm going to have to hear more about this adult summer camp. It sounds epic. And I know we don't have time to cover all of it, nor maybe do you want to disclose all of the excitement you experienced there. But I think us as an adults to kind of shape things up and get outside of our comfort zone. I think that sounds like something that would be right up my alley. So good on you. It sounds like it was fun.
I'll send you some info.
Yeah.
Kelli, I'm big into morning routines, as I'm sure you've heard on the show. And I would love to hear from you as you've changed careers, as your children have come and grown. How has this morning routine evolved over time, and what does it look like today?
That's a great question. So I am a mom of a 1.5-year-old little girl, and I would say pre-baby and post-baby, it looks different. So I'm a working mother and I'm also a career woman. And, before I would say I would wake up and immediately look at my phone and my emails, and that is the worst way to start your day. I mean, look at Ariana Huffington. I mean, there's the Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod, they talk about, what do you need to do? And you need to really protect those first 30 minutes or hour that you wake to really level set your intention for the day. And so I wasn't intentional about it, but my daughter forced me to, is that she's an early riser. So she's my alarm clock. We usually get up at about 6:30, and instead of picking up my phone or looking at anything, I make sure that the first 30 minutes of our day is spent together reading her favorite books. And just having that time together in the morning to really center ourselves, to snuggle, to read. She loves to read. She's so curious. At that age, they're learning and growing so much. And so it allows me to take a pause to spend time with her and to develop a sense of curiosity for the day, and being able to show up that way through reading with my daughter. So that is something that I do right away. And also making sure that we either play music or dance or color or do something artistic before I drop her off at daycare. And to be honest, some mornings I'm like, because she didn't sleep well or whatever the reason is, or I'm in a rush to get on a call. But I think incorporating literacy, arts, moving your body, dancing, and being away from technology for those first 30 minutes to an hour and being present and loving on the ones that are in your physical space, that to me is what fuels me. And that is what fuels my day.
That's incredible. I'm not surprised that your day starts off before 7. It's amazing how many powerhouses have been on this show. I have the 4 a.m. club, the 5 a.m. club, the Mothers Club, which is typically between 6:15 and 6:45.
Yep.
And then I call it the Underachievers Club, which is the past 7 o'clocks. And it's a real thing. If I look at the pattern of these people and what they have accomplished or are planning to accomplish, it's a direct correlation to what time you wake up and how your morning routine starts. I have my gratitude journal people that, just, it's beautiful. So congrats.
What's your routine? I would just be curious.
Yeah, right now I'm in the midst of moving, but outside of this week, wake up at 5:45, journal for 15 minutes on what I'm grateful for and what I'm calling in to accomplish for the day. Then I hop on a bike and I bike 15 minutes to the beach, sit on the sand and watch the most beautiful sunrise and just do some breathing. I have learned that to really be present, and I haven't looked at my phone this entire time. Like the phone does not get looked at till after the sunrise, unless I'm like, okay, this is going to be a time lapse worthy sunrise, and I have hundreds of them on my phone. But yeah, just taking a moment to really check in with yourself, see how you feel, see what's coming up for you and what is triggering that emotion, and just trying to get medicine from each and every opportunity. I will say something that, for those of you listening that don't practice gratitude, just think of something unique each and every day to be grateful for, whether it's clean air or bottled water or your refrigerator working and having food in it, whatever it may be. But one thing that I've really been extra appreciative for, I would say in the last year, is Mother Nature painting the most beautiful landscape every morning and every night for us. There's no two sunrises or sunsets that are the same. And the colors that we see are like the most imaginative, like colors and schemes that just get painted. So that's how I start my mornings. I'd like to, voicing this out loud to you makes me think about an evening routine that is non-existent at all, that would totally support me, maybe seeing the sunset and doing things. So thank you for propelling that question in my head. I will call you in a week and let you know what my evening routine has solidified to. But yeah, that's my morning. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's inspiring. And I will just say you set the bar very high. And I'm not jealous, because jealousy means you don't want the person to have that. I'm envious, and I'm happy for you that you have that. And if anything, it just inspires me to say, like, how can I get closer to expanding what the routine looks like? And I think routines are also seasonal on where we are in our stage of life, right? So what you're describing is something I totally look forward to when she's a little older and she can dress herself in the morning, and maybe she gets on her bike and we go and look at the sunrise together. But no, you definitely set a high bar there, Carl, on what your routine looks like. So bravo. That's awesome.
Thank you, Kelly. It's taken a long time to get to this point.
Yeah, it's a journey, right?
Yeah. Kelly, before we wrap up, I just want to remind our listeners that this episode is sponsored by Referrizer. If you guys have any marketing needs as far as automation, referrals, retention, reputation, or just want to understand data between you and your end users or your multiple locations, head to Referrizer. Check out what we do and see our hundreds of testimonials from customers over 82 countries for the last 11 years that have relied on Referrizer for all things communication. Thank you for that. And thank you to the listeners for coming up and showing your face every week and supporting this podcast. Myself and my team over here are beyond grateful. And in conclusion, Kelli, my favorite question, if you're going to have dinner with a historical figure from the past, who are you eating with and what are you talking about?
That's a tough one, and I've kind of gone back and forth. So this is in the past, so that means they need to be no longer with us, correct?
Preferably, although you're the boss on this show, so you can take it and run with it.
I think I would love to meet and have dinner with Thomas Edison because he was such an innovator, and how many patents and technologies and things that he developed and how his mind worked is so opposite of mine. And I just would find the dinner so fascinating to just kind of like map out what a conversation is and kind of what his journey is, and also learning like from a really early age what he was exposed to kind of get to that place of creativity and making things and coming up with innovations that, you know, power our houses and our homes and our cars and so many other different things. So I think it would be really fascinating to share a glass of wine or mini with him and chat about his life.
Heck yeah. If there was a +2, I would totally bring Nikola Tesla and myself and we would have the most wild conversation.
There you go. We would nerd out. I would love it.
That's awesome. Kelli, what's the best way for people to stay connected with you or follow or get involved with WellBiz Brands?
Absolutely. So check us out on wellbizbrands.com. You can also check us out on LinkedIn. We're pretty active there. We also have our individual brand pages, so you can find out more about franchise opportunities. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to look me up. I'd love to engage in a conversation, and just really appreciate Carl having me on today. And those listening, if you do have a marketing need digitally, they have moved mountains and had game-changing results for some of our Elements Massage franchisees and some of the top performers within their portfolio. So definitely pick up the phone, connect with Carl, brilliant group and company, and overall just amazing energy. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Kelli. We love you. We appreciate you. We definitely see you, and we'll stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have Kelli on the show in a year or so just to see where she's up to and what's going on. And yeah, we'll see you on next week's episode. Thanks, Kelli.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.